I waited for Bryson Green for 10 years. And today, all I got was an invitation to this wedding with Nancy Moore. The heat outside felt stifling as I returned to the office, my chest heavy. Inside, my colleagues were crowded around chatting animatedly. I barely noticed them, lost in my own thoughts, until a familiar name drifted through the air. Nancy's getting married. My feet felt cemented to the floor. Nancy? Hasn't she been waiting for someone? Did she really wait all this time? Seems like it. 10 years, they say. Just look at her pictures, the guy, his hands like a model. He must be gorgeous. And those rings, Nancy designed them herself. It's so romantic. Hearing Nancy broke through my haze. I approached, managing a light chuckle. Which Nancy? Can I see? The chatter softened as one of them handed me a phone, hesitating. Miss Lewis, it's the model Nancy. This is her Instagram. I tapped on a photo of two hands intertwined, fingers laced, their rings sparkling. I zoomed in, taking in the intricate design, Nancy's own creation. My colleagues continued murmuring around me. She waited for him for 10 years. I could never wait that long. Same. 10 years is way too long. 1 year would be my limit. 10 years. They said it was impossible. But Nancy had waited, and now everyone admired her patience and celebrated her happiness. And what about my 10 years? Mine had been spent in silence, poring over his photos in the dark, my love hidden from everyone. No one would marvel at my wait, no one even knew. I forced a smile, my vision blurring, and quickly returned the phone before they could see my tears. I turned and left in a hurry, feeling like I had to escape. Once inside my office, I shut the door, my heart pounding in the quiet. I could no longer hold back the tears, and I no longer cared who saw. The sound of the door slamming shut echoed loudly in the office. Would my colleagues think I was upset about their gossip? If I stayed silent, would they assume I was angry? I couldn't care less. I could barely manage myself right now. Sitting at my desk, I stared at the official announcement photo again, scrutinizing it like a voyeur. Every detail felt like a sharp jab, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. It wasn't until a knock broke the silence that I put my phone down. Come in, I called out, my voice raspy and strained, as though I'd been crying. To avoid suspicion, I quickly grabbed a glass of water, gulping it down before sitting up straight. My assistant entered, carrying a package. Miss Lewis, this just arrived for you, she said, placing it on my desk. I frowned. Where did this come from? Are you sure it's mine? Yes, it's addressed to you. Could someone have sent it by mistake? Someone else. I doubted it, but I waved her off, waiting until the door clicked shut before turning my attention to the package. It was a simple envelope, but the sender's name hit me like a lightning bolt. Bryson Green. 10 years. 10 years of silence. No letters, no messages. If it weren't for the photos I still had, I might have forgotten what he looked like. But now, on the day Nancy's engagement was the talk of the office, he sent me this. Why? Was this his way of showing me how happy they were, of rubbing their love in my face? My fingers trembled as I tried to open the package. My hands, usually so steady, fumbled clumsily, slipping over the paper again and again. Frustration bubbled up until it boiled over. I ripped into the envelope with jagged motions, tearing it open violently. Inside was a single wedding invitation. I stared at it for a long moment before laughing. He didn't even write their names on it. Not the bride. Not the groom. As if he couldn't risk me refusing. As if he needed to make sure I came to see their happiness for myself, to witness the love he had chosen that wasn't me. I deleted Nancy's Facebook back in college. But Bryson's, I could never bring myself to do it. I opened our chat box, a space untouched for years frozen in time. The last message from him was from 3 years ago. I stared at the empty thread for a long moment before typing. Bryson, don't pretend to be dead. The words felt sharp, almost cruel, but I hit send anyway. For years, he hadn't replied to a single message. It was as if he had vanished off the face of the earth. I'd tried asking about him before, but our mutual friends didn't know much. All they could tell me was that he had gone abroad. See, was Bryson rational and calculated? He didn't just leave me, he left everyone behind for the sake of his career. I typed a new message, congratulations. It felt like a stab to my own chest, but I sent it. Quickly, I exited the chat, unwilling to linger. He hasn't replied in years. Why would this time be any different? But this time, I wasn't demanding, wasn't questioning him. Just congratulating him on his marriage. Surely, he'd reply. The thought clung to me, distracting me all afternoon. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart leapt, and I'd imagine his reply. Would it be a polite thank you, or maybe even an apologetic sorry? Ding dong. The sound broke my thoughts. My heart raced, my grip on the pen tightening until my knuckles turned white. It was almost time to clock out. 2 hours had passed since I sent the message. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the frantic beating in my chest, and reached for my phone. When I saw the name on the notification, the world seemed to still. It wasn't Bryson. It was my mother. She's urging me to get married again. Sienna, there's a single man that you're in Tom Lee's place. When will you come back to meet him? My mother has been relentless over the years, always pushing me to settle down. I've avoided so many of her calls, fearing yet another lecture about marriage. I muttered some half-hearted reply, just enough to end the conversation and refocus on the road. While waiting at a red light, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was an unfamiliar number. I answered up, snest and lead, eyes on me light. Sienna. The voice on the other end froze me. It was Nancy. Are they afraid I won't show up to their wedding? Did they send her to personally make sure I attend? I smiled bitterly, my hands tightening around the phone. Nancy. Her name felt like fire on my tongue, and I spoke it softly, almost hesitantly. She chuckled lightly, and then I heard another voice in the background. Okay, I'll go wash, little ancestor, the man said, his tone indulgent tender. Bryson. So gentle, so full of affection. It was undeniable. He truly loved her. My nails dug into my palm, the pain grounding me as anger swelled. My voice came out cold. Is there something you need? If not, I'm busy. I wanted to ask if you received the invitation, she said. I could almost picture her expression, proud, smug, maybe even a little triumphant. My grip on the steering wheel tightened, but I forced a smile even though she couldn't see it. I did, I said, my tone light but firm. The day after tomorrow, right? Don't worry, I'll be there. Nancy let out a soft laugh, almost sweet, but it cut through me like a blade. Good. Sienna, you must come. Oh, I'll be there. I want to see Bryson's face when he sees me. Will there be guilt? Or will he just smile politely, say, Sienna, long time no see, like I'm nothing more than an old friend? A horn blared behind me, snapping me back to reality. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat, slammed my foot on the accelerator, and drove off. I wanted to leave this suffocating feeling on the road behind me, but it clung to me, heavy and relentless. When I got home, I took out the invitation. It was thick, luxurious, the kind that spoke of celebration and joy. Bright red festive and mocking. Once, the man behind this invitation and I talked tenderlessly about wedding plans. We had debated over every detail, even the wording of an invitation. But that discussion never reached a conclusion. I let out a bitter laugh, resentment curling in my chest. I should blame him. If it weren't for his promise to wait for him, I wouldn't have wasted a decade of my life. If he hadn't spoken so earnestly, so confidently, I wouldn't have let him become my obsession. 10 years. He wasted 10 years of my life. And in the end, all I got was news of his wedding to Nancy. Not even a reply to my messages. Maybe it's the hatred. Maybe it's the betrayal. But my hands trembled as I stared at that invitation. I wanted to tear it apart, shred it into pieces, but the paper was too thick. My hands turned red from the effort, but the invitation remained intact. Unyielding, just like my foolish persistence. It felt like the universe was mocking me.